I'd like to start off by trying to sensitize you to the enormity of what the internet represents. I'm assuming all of you use the internet, right? Is there anybody here who doesn't use the internet? I doubt it. Otherwise you wouldn't be here. All of us are familiar with radio, with film, with television, and all that. Those were mediums which involved one-to-many. So you had a broadcaster and they reached thousands of people, right? It was entirely one way. Now, print as well. Print was static, radio was auditory, television was audio-visual, but it was all one way. As an audience, you had no opportunity to participate, you had no opportunity to give feedback, nothing. Messages came to you, you absorbed it, maybe you acted upon it, maybe you didn't. That's the way it always was. And it created media corporations who were very powerful. You know, they were called media barons. You know, I control the media, I can influence so many people, and so on. And in this scenario, you had governments that would work with media to influence people. Brands would advertise through media to let people know why they should buy their products and so on and so forth. Everything was hunky-dory. Then along came the internet. And suddenly, everything was topsy-turvy. Just think about it. Earlier, you had one-to-many. The internet is everyone to everyone. It's many to many. You can all interact with each other. Earlier, you had static newspapers, you had radio, you had television and all of that. The internet rolls all of that into one. You can read, you can listen, you can watch audio visuals. It's dynamic and it's interactive. Because it's interactive, you can give your feedback, you can have a dialogue, you can have a conversation. Can you imagine the quandary that put in the established order of things? Suddenly you had everybody shaken up, starting with the media companies. They were no more king of the pile. If they beamed out something, they got answers right back saying this is rubbish. And they're still finding it difficult to deal with it. Now, I don't know how many of you saw the Hindu on Friday, the culture supplement. The Hindu is adapting very quickly. If you looked at the front page of the culture supplement, you know, this is the Carnatic music season, all the concerts are going on. The top left-hand said, if you are attending these music sessions, send us your reviews and we'll print the best. The crowdsourcing reviews. Where did this thinking come to crowdsource? Crowdsourcing is an internet word. It came in after the internet. It's changing the very paradigm. If you look at businesses, earlier it was easy, right? You beamed messages about your brand, you created awareness, you built a brand image, you communicated the benefits of a product and people came and bought your product. Today that's not the case. You are engaging in conversations with the people who could buy your product. And those conversations need not necessarily be very pleasant all the time. And companies are learning to deal with this. And some of them very successfully. I don't know how many of you follow Anand Mahindra on Twitter. But the way he handles the Mahindra brand, there's a lesson to be learned. He does a brilliant job of it. What about governments? Governments were all about holding back information and therefore controlling everybody. Suddenly with the internet, everything is transparent. What about public behavior? You saw what happened to those two sisters yesterday on the bus. Three guys tried to, this funny term, tried to Eve tease them. It's basically sexual abuse. They ignored them. But the moment they turned their attention onto a pregnant lady, these girls stood up and fought physically with these guys. Who took that video that went viral? The pregnant lady. And before they knew it, the whole world knew. The whole world saw what they did. Result, they're in jail. Earlier, Because the local panchayat president said, don't file an FIR, they could have got away. Incidentally, that also happened. But they couldn't get away because the whole world knew. So what we're talking about is a medium of incredible power to change people's lives, to change the status quo. And yet, it doesn't belong to anybody. It belongs to all of us. But it doesn't belong to the government of India. It doesn't belong to any corporation. It doesn't belong to any country in the world. It is everywhere. So how do you govern it? This was the quandary that was placed at the World Summit on the Information Society in 2005 in Tunis. And there were huge debates because at that time, ICANN, the very organization which had originally been set up in the US, came under the US State Department, so there was a big query about, then is the US controlling the internet and so on. It just so happened, it started there. It was historical, it was a question of lineage and so on, but it had become a resource for the entire world, so should it continue to stay there? Could the locus remain there? That was the question. And Kofi Annan, who was then the UN General Secretary, set up a process that he called the Internet Governance Forum. And the World Summit on the Information Society in Tunis, I was there, I watched the process, was like the United Nations. The countries of the world had their representatives debating what the future of the internet should be, because each of them saw that it was vitally important for their citizens, vitally important for you and me. So finally it was decided that they will put in place this Internet Governance Forum, which has now taken place systematically every year from 2006 onwards. 2006 it was in Athens, in 2007 it was in Rio, in 2008 it was in Hyderabad, in our very own country, and after that it moved to Sharm el-Sheikh, Vilnius, Bali, and so on. And next year it's back in Brazil, I believe. What happens at this Internet Governance Forum? That is the true multi-stakeholder governance forum. If you look at, you talked about close to 3 billion people now on the internet. 3 billion people means it's not any one country, right? It's all countries. It's all kinds of people, people like you and me. It could be even a fisherman from a small village of Karaikal. Because today the fishermen are shown satellite images, so they know where to go and fish. They can see the shoals of fish. So it's everybody. The multi-stakeholder forum brings together civil society, that is organizations that represent the common citizen, which are like NGOs, including youth and including special interest groups. So one side you have civil society, then you have business, global business, because this is vitally important to global business because they can engage with current and future customers. It involves governments because governments are interested in being able to reach all their citizens as well as administer in such a way that there is civic harmony and public good. So you have civil society, you have governments, you have business, and then you have the technical community because they underpin the operations of the internet. This is the multi-stakeholder forum. Now what happens is, and this is the tricky part, everybody has to be interested in the good of the internet for everyone. I say it's a tricky part because very often you will have one group, it could be business, saying, hey, but I've got to see how to make it work for business and give it a slant. Or it could be an NGO which is looking at it from a particular, maybe far left kind of point of view. But that's not what a multi-stakeholder forum is about. Precisely because it's multi-stakeholder, there are checks and balances. No particular group can try and take the initiative away in their interest. The others will bring it back into the balance. That is the purpose of the multi-stakeholder forum, and that is the purpose of the Internet Governance Forum, to ensure that the future of the internet is safeguarded not only for us, not only for the 7 billion people on earth, but for the children who will come in the future as well. Because it must remain a resource that is open to all. Much like the Internet Society says, the Internet is for everyone. It fosters innovation, it fosters transparency, it fosters better and wider forms of education, it fosters better governance, it fosters greater efficiency. I mean, any which way you look at it, the Internet is a resource for all of us. So it is very important that all of you who are in this room understand that the multi-stakeholder form of governance, instead of coming under any one stakeholder group or any one government or governments at all, is vitally important for the future of the Internet. And if you are interested, because you're a user of the Internet, and therefore you own it, please do get involved in this forum. Thank you.